Jacob, everybody deals with anxiety, although not always to the extent Orion does. So I was just curious, what did you find most relatable about the character in the script here? Because it really reminded me of like my childhood worries, and found it very touching.
Yeah, I mean, Orion's definitely an overthinker, and I can kind of relate to that and see myself in that in a bit, where he's always kind of planning out what could go completely wrong, which is very, very interesting. But I always see myself doing that too and kind of catching myself. And I was like, you don't got to do that, you know? Because at the end of the day, I think mostly it will all be all right. So, yeah.
Yeah, and Paul, you're playing the embodiment of the dark, which is Orion's worst fear. And what I liked about the character was you have your own quirks and your insecurities. What did you like about this very unique version of, the idea of darkness, which, a lot of people are scared of?
Yeah, no, both characters have that kind of going on. The idea that they have fears or insecurities that they need to overcome. I think for me, I really related to this moment where Dark is flying around with Orion, trying to show him all the different great things about the Dark, and Orion is more scared and kind of underwhelmed by what he's seeing and overwhelmed by what he's feeling, and doesn't really get to be present in that moment. And I feel like I've done that before where I'll tell somebody to like watch a movie and I'm like, this is the best movie ever. And then they watch it and they're like, yeah, it was all right. Or I didn't really get it. Or,
Oh, every time.
You're
Every
like, this is the
time,
best burger you've ever had in your life. And they're like, yeah, I didn't like the bun. And you're like, what? So like, there's something really funny about representing someone who's like trying to present themselves in their world and they kind of feel isolated by the lack of companionship and one-ship in that world.
Yeah, that's a wonderful moment. And Jacob, I love the sketchbook throughout the first act, and you get to describe these really over the top, vivid fears that Orion has. How fun was it recording those scenes? Because those are some pretty wild situations you spell
Yeah,
out.
that was super fun because I just loved reading that over and over and over again. I think it's just so creative. And I just love watching the movie. I can't wait to see it tonight with people with the audience
Yeah,
for the first time.
yeah.
Man, it's gonna be really, really nice. I just had a great time recording it. It didn't feel like work at all. It just felt like fun.
There's something too about just as an actor getting a good monologue and the idea that like you can memorize it, but because it's voiceover, you also get to kind of there's just a comfortability about seeing the lines for me at least. It was like you had a little bit of a safety net while acting, which was cool.
And Paul, you've got two sons, and this has such a wonderful message to it. So, what does it mean to get to, be in this type of work that they'll really enjoy and they'll get a great message out of as well?
Super exciting, super exciting. My favorite, one of my favorite actors of all time is this guy named Daniel Stern. He played one of the Home Alone crooks with Joe Pesci, and I remember watching interviews with him talking about his kids and stuff, and like you look at his filmography and it's like Home Alone 1 and 2, and then he did this comedy Bushwhacked where he's taking a bunch of Cub Scouts on a camping trip, and like there's all these cool kids movies, Rookie of the Year. So it's like I looked at that and I was always like, man, I really hope I get to make movies that my kids can grow up with and enjoy. And thankfully, this is definitely one of those. And it's also challenging. It's not just entertaining, but hopefully it'll make them think and they'll understand it more as they watch it when they get older.